Give me coffee in the morning, gotta have the caffeine. Wake me up, shake me up, dip me like a lassie. Buzz shit, juice shit, set a feeling so alive. Coffee in the morning, it's the best way to survive. Woke up in the morning, sleepy eyes yawning. Jumped out of bed, started the day, opened the curtains. Felt the cool breeze, the sun shining on my face. But something was missing, I needed my job to chase. Give me coffee in the morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Carrie. Good morning, Pokemon. I'm in a little bit earlier than usual. I had some shit pop off I had to get to, and I had to make some more morning coffee. I hope you ladies had a fine evening and you're up and ready for your day. Getting ready for day 6 of Lori Vallow trial coming up here in just a little while. Got a few things not a few things, something I wanted to show that came up in Delphi that we've been waiting for. And I know that we're going to be so busy with all that's going on, I don't know when I'll get to it. So I was like, you know what? I'm home. I'm not doing anything. Got some time to kill before Lori. Let's do this. Good morning, True Crime Butterfly. I'm loving the new name. I am. I will still call you Butterfly, but I do like the new name. And, yeah, so, right? Court TV dropped a piece that they aired on their website, and they've gotten their hands on a little bit more of this Delphi discovery that a lot of people are waiting on. And I saw a smart aleck comment on the Twitter that said to someone, why don't you just spend $25 and get the same USB? If it was so easy, we would have already done it. Do you know how many people have spent that $25, and not to mention countless thousands of dollars, trying to get discovery out of Delphi? Especially once the case ended, the man was found guilty, convicted of 130 years. Why not now release the evidence, right? You got your guy. Nobody else was involved. What's there to hide? Nothing to mess up in the future of the case, right? Because you got the guy. Well, this slow trickle has begun to happen, and it appears to only be going to certain places, like a pick and choose kind of thing. Isn't that weird? Aw, whose birthday's today? Let me scroll back up. Carrie? Oh, goodness. That's a big birthday. You know what? I don't even gotta... Y'all can't even see me. That is a big birthday, right? 13 is coming up next. Everybody, you hear those little mother-daughter horror story type things. I never had that with my mom, that kind of relationship. I didn't have it with either one of my daughters. So I hope y'all are having a good relationship and it continues. I think society tries to feed us a bunch of bullshit. Yeah, we got another show coming up here after this one, Butterfly, to continue our Lori stuff. But what I do want to get to is some of this Delphi before I do run out of time. I want to show you guys a tweet that came up a while back. Well, it started with a comment made by, if you don't know who Barbara McDonald is, she's a court TV anchor. She's been reporting. Before that, she was on CNN for years. She's been around a very long time. She's all up in the Delphi case. She knows all the things about it. So she had made a comment a while back on Twitter, and I asked her to clarify, and she did. Why is my dog going nuts? Oh, FedEx dude. Okay. So I had asked her a question, and she clarified. And I'm only bringing this up because of what I'm going to show you on the court TV piece. Because I don't agree with this. I don't care if you're what investigation you're in, Coburg or Idaho, Delphi, Arizona with Lori. I don't care. You don't go and ask about a video surveillance footage that you may need, take a screenshot, and then leave it sitting idle for 5 solid years in said business where you went and took the screenshot from. I don't think any of us would think that would be okay. Okay, so here was the tweet. And I wrote, "Hi, Newsy Barbara. You posted a tweet stating that the video from the Hoosier Harvest store wasn't obtained until 2022. For those of you who may not know, the Hoosier Harvest store is a business on 300 North that allegedly captures Rick Allen's car and Sarah Carball's, Betsy Blair's, Libby's sister Kelsey German's car, captures these cars coming and going. Remember, Rick Allen said he was there, so it should have captured his car, correct? But we need to know what time that car was there. So they said it wasn't obtained until 2022. These crimes happened in 2017. I've read reports the FBI obtained that video. Can you confirm? You said Mullen, which is one of the officers, we all just saw him interviewing Rick Allen on the footage that we watched, and Kathy Shank testified to this. Kathy Shank is the one who found the tip that Rick Allen was, at the trails that day, 5 years after the fact. Okay, so her reply to me was, of the more than 50,000 tips received in Delphi murders, only one mentioned Richard Allen, and that came from him on 2/16/17. The video, the state says, shows his car arriving on 2/13/2017, wasn't obtained until 9 of 2022, per testimony of Kathy and Steve Mullen. Don't you find it odd that they didn't collect the video right then and there on the spot? And that they were like, oh, nothing to see here, we'll get it later. And then you go back and lo and behold, it's still there 5 years later. Well, we're going to get to take a look at that video. Like I said, Court TV dropped a piece on their website. Oh, wait, I'm not going to find it there. I got to go over here where I bookmarked it. So they put a piece on their website that has not been uploaded up to the YouTube as of this morning. I didn't see it yet. So I went to the website and found it, and we're not gonna watch the whole thing. What we are gonna watch is the parts with the new discovery that came up. If I can, I'm getting it pulled up, guys. 1 second. Okay. I know, right? From the entire town, it wasn't like there was a lot of area to cover, was it, Pokemon? And especially your main video. And remember, this video, when I show you how clear it could see that road, we have to remember that Sarah Carball testified she saw a man walking past Mears Farm entrance area, muddy and bloody. He would have been, the next thing you walk past is the Hoosier Harvest store. The camera would have seen a man walking, whether you saw muddy and bloody or not, who knows? You would have seen the man, a man, any person walking. That footage shows nobody walking. So let's pull up the screen and we'll give this a review.
Indiana. The following day, their bodies were discovered near Deer Creek, sparking a years-long investigation. A crucial piece of evidence was a video recorded on Liberty's phone, capturing a man instructing the girls to go down the hill. This individual became known as Bridge Guy and became the primary suspect. In October of 2022, Richard Allen, a local resident, was arrested and charged with their murders. Evidence included a .40 caliber bullet found between the victims linked to Allen's firearm and multiple confessions he made while incarcerated. Despite his defense citing mental health issues, Allen was convicted in November of 2024 and sentenced to 130 years in prison. I want to take a look at something else that has been released from the public evidence in the case, which is a diagram of the crime scene itself. As you take a look.
Guys, this one has never been seen before. We've seen diagrams. I've seen the actual pictures. They were released after the crimes. But this particular diagram, pay attention to what they're going to say, because it makes absolute sense. And a lot of us have known this for a long time. And people who just kind of like barely watch the case or watch one platform to get their information are never going to hear the entire story, right? I had someone just the other day chime in and say, you know what? I've been watching this particular story from what their words were, a guilter's platform. I try not to be that. I may lean a certain way, and I'll be honest with you guys when I lean a certain way, but always keep an open mind, right? And what they're about to say makes absolute sense.
You can see the two victims, Abby and Libby. You can see some spots of blood in the various areas, and you see where the tree was. And one of the bodies has no clothes on, the other does. And from the beginning, something everyone's been talking about is like, how did they end up there? From the bridge to this area, across the creek, etc., and end up where they ended up. And that image there, what does it tell us? That brings us to the next question in our investigation. It's all about the crime scene. Is the crime scene consistent with a single killer? Could one person do what was done and leave the scene the way it was found? And joining us, Court TV senior producer, she's covered the case from the beginning, was at the trial, Barbara McDonald is here, and criminal defense attorney and host of the Defense Diaries podcast, and he was also in the courtroom for Richard Allen's trial. Bob Mata is with us. Barbara, looking at that scene there, I want to show some footage we have of the bridge area leading there. I think we have some video showing us that I think was used at the trial. And when we take a look at that, can you explain to us what we're looking at here and then put it in reference to where the children were found?
Yeah, so this is a video that the state introduced showing the route that they believe Richard Allen would have taken from where his car was parked across the Freedom Bridge, along the trails, and to this is the improvements. This is what the old Monon High Bridge area still looks like. The first part was the improvements. Now we're headed to the south side of that bridge, and that's where Abby and Libby were walking towards when they encountered this man. And this is the area where that video that Libby made was recorded, right in this area. Now, this video that you're looking at on your screen is from 2024, so 7 years after Libby's video was recorded. So if it looks different, this is the area looking down the hill. This was also shot in mid-February to give you an idea of the tree cover. And then you can see that access road down there, and that is Brad Weber's driveway. That is where they believe that when Weber was coming home from work in that white van, Richard Allen saw that van, got spooked, decided to change course. Instead of assaulting the girls on that same side of the creek, he instead marched them across the creek and killed them on the opposite side, which was Ron Logan's property.
Okay, Bob Mata, I think a big argument made by prosecutors from the beginning, because they found this bullet at the scene. Now, this was a stabbing case, but they found the bullet, and they believe they were able to link it to Richard Allen's gun. That's what they're saying. Is that Is that crucial? Was that crucial for prosecutors to try to prove that one person?
I'll tell y'all, even though this was an ejected, unfired round, I was really paying attention to that expert in Lori's case yesterday, listening to absolute details of how a gun is racked, where bullets will fall once they're racked. All of that was my jam, and I was into it. I needed guys like that over in Delphi to testify. But no, we got some
Could
weird ladies.
control these two teenagers and get them to where they ended up.
Yeah, I think for the state it was critical because I think everybody probably thought, all right, well, how is one probably older guy somewhere in his 20s to 40s controlling two teenage girls, but for having a weapon, namely a gun? I think that was always kind of the thought process going into the trial when we didn't know specifically if there.
Dude, my license for what? To be on the YouTube like you, like everybody else, license to drive, license to sit in my chair. What kind of license we talking about, Kane? You're getting kind of personal on me, dude. Can I see yours? Show me yours, I'll show you
There was a
mine.
gun involved or not. I think we all had an idea that a gun wasn't used in the actual homicides. You know, and we know from the story that the state put forward at trial, you know, in terms of what they're saying they heard on that video that we've now all seen, you know, they're very clear that they said that they hear a gun rack, which means that that casing would have popped out on the bridge. So I guess the question becomes for me, well, how did that particular piece of ammunition get found at the crime scene, which is down the hill, across the creek, and hundreds of yards away from where they're claiming the gun was racked? So, you know, for them, it was a really big piece of evidence. I don't know how much weight the jury ended up giving it in terms of it being significant agreement between the weapon that was found at Richard Allen's home and the actual round itself.
Yeah, that's one juror's take, and I don't even know if she. We don't know how much weight they gave any of it, right, V? And I'm going to tell you, you got to give me more than. I mean, the bullet was the only thing physically tying him to the scene of the crime, other than a video in his own statement saying he was out there. In the video, of course, is Bridge Guy. So you know what I mean? If I was the juror, I mean, they based it on the confessions. I get it, but did they listen to everything being told to them about what was behind those confessions and things of that nature? Right? There's so much that jury didn't get to see, unfortunately. Kind of like these jurors over there in Lori's case have no clue her kids are dead yet.
For various reasons, probably, which
Whoops.
we don't need to get into here, but you know, I just don't know at the end of the day how much weight that particular piece of evidence was given. But in terms of how critical it was for the state's story and theory, it was very, very important for them.
Well, I think Richard Allen had an explanation as to how that cartridge could have ended up at the scene or in the possession of investigators. Let's take a listen.
Either you had that gun or somebody had that gun. There's no way that round gets on that property where these two girls were killed without that gun being there. And you're there, your car's there, witnesses say
there is no way a round from my gun was anywhere near the girls, the bridge. It just didn't happen.
So, Bob, what's your
Kane. You got it figured out though, right? Yeah, it's all good, dude. We all make mistakes. We all do, but that was yeah, they can't get us for airing a public trial. So what did you guys listen to the Delphi trial? When I say listen, I mean at night you had to go and listen to people who were in the courtroom to get an accurate take. I consumed like 3 different people that were there. I also took into the account all of the news accounts that were there as well, and you know, comparing notes. There are a lot of good people out there with a lot of really great notes and transcripts on the testimony. And I don't know how much of the public actually put stock into that bullet, and the testing behind it and all the things. Good morning, Joe. Welcome in. Are you getting ready for your big day again to go up against Miss Lori in the courtroom? Joe Schmo's here, guys. I'll let this play out because I do want to make sure we finish this up before we go into our Lori coverage. I did a loop of Down the Hill with Holman's voice, and they are the same, but I'm no expert, right? Everybody has been saying comments like that, Indy. Don't feel bad. There's a lot of guys that could have been Bridge Guy, in my opinion. Rick Allen's voice doesn't sound much like Bridge Guy's to me.
Your bottom line here about that crime scene, is it consistent with a single killer?
I've never thought that it was. When you kind of look at the diagram itself, I mean, that speaks volumes. And we heard testimony at trial in terms of what was brought out in cross-examination, that where Libby's body was ultimately found and where you see the larger pool of blood towards down beyond Abby's feet there, that larger circle, that is actually Libby's blood, which would signify that that's where Libby was injured, right there, and that there were no drag marks between where that pool is and where Libby's final resting place is, which, if you're thinking about one person moving her, that's difficult for me to wrap my mind around, in terms of we don't know which direction her head was facing. If her head was facing south, that means that the killer would have had to turn her body around to get her situated so that her head was facing north. And with there being no drag marks in between that pool of blood and that tree, to me, it's very difficult to reach the conclusion that one person could have.
There was the biggest part to me. Not just hearing that, like, I didn't hear it for the first time when I heard this, right? It's something we've known. So that would mean the person responsible would have picked Libby up and carried her to the new location and put her down. There still should have been some droplets going down, but there were no drag marks. Like the state wanted you to believe that she was drugged by an arm up to where she was left, but there's no drag marks. So make it make sense. It doesn't make any sense. There's so much about the crime scene that doesn't make sense,
Done that. I mean, what are you talking, like a fireman's carry of Libby, who I think weighed somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 plus pounds. She was a bigger girl. Richard Allen himself is 5'4", 5'5", so he's not a big strapping guy. It would have been difficult. And the other thing for me that really sticks is that if they cross the river, the creek, okay, we're talking, it's February. I understand it was a untypically warmer day than it typically is. However, it was still early February. The creek was high and the water was cold. The clothes would have been wet still when they found the body the next day. Like, where is the time that the clothes dry if the path was in fact that creek?
Boom. Another one. Now, y'all, I live in the South. I live around the water. I promise you, if we go swimming, even on a good hot day, them clothes don't dry so quickly. Right? Your bathing suit might dry out real fast, but if you get shoved in, thrown in by your uncle, your daddy, your cousin, your brother, whatever, you're in full-on clothes. It takes a hot minute for them to dry. But imagine crossing that cold, deep creek, being soaking wet head to toe, and those clothes are dry the next day on the 14th when it was cold out there. Unseasonably warm day for Indiana is still very cold to someone like me. 50 degrees is not that may be unseasonably warm for them. It's cold to me. So there's no way clothes would have dried overnight in those elements. You know what I mean? Why were their clothes dry? They never crossed the damn creek. Would explain that. The only thing that could explain that.
That's always been something that's really kind of haunted me in terms of how they ended up on that side of the creek, because I just don't see clothes drying in 30-degree weather overnight when they'd be soaking wet from crossing that creek. I mean, there's a lot of things with it that just really don't add up to me.
All right, Barbara and Bob are going to stay with us. Oh, go ahead, real quick.
I was just going to say that they don't think that he was there at the scene beyond 3:30 p.m. So from 2:13 when they were abducted on the bridge until 3:30, everything that happened at the scene had to have happened.
Still to come, is this Richard Allen's car?
The question needs to be, is that...
Hold on, guys.
Okay, I understand that.
Oh, come on. Act right.
Driving towards where the trails were, and they are saying, as he takes a look at that still frame from that video. Not the only video that was significant in the case, right? So there was also video of a car driving towards the trails. And here are some of those images of the car that they say was driving towards where the trails were. And they are saying this is Richard Allen's car. Apparently he had a Ford Focus, a black Ford Focus. And they say this is a black Ford Focus. You can see it's in the spotlight there, the back left. Now we also have an image with a time stamp on it. Let's take a look at that. And the time of this is significant as well.
All right, guys, there's going to be a time discrepancy because was this thing off by 54 minutes or was it 12 minutes? Somebody better get busy explaining. It's called authentication of records. You know, we just heard a whole bunch about that over in Idaho. Someone needs to come authenticate this 5-year-old footage. Make sure this timestamp's accurate. Now look how well that camera can see. I watched a video this morning from about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. The girl is on that street and she's walking and she's got a YouTube channel and she's talking about that camera and how it picks up this car and how when she was in court that day, she caught a glimpse of the image shown to the jurors and was shocked at how clear that car looked on video. Black car, spokes, you could see through the rims, da-da-da-da-da. But turned right around and said that camera wouldn't have picked up a person walking, though. It wasn't that great. What the fuck? What do you mean? Girl, obviously it's a very clear camera in the daytime. There it is, circled car, circled timestamp. I'm pretty sure it would have captured a human being walking down the road. May not have seen who it was, but they would have been there. But there's nobody there.
Oh, well, there it says 14:21:39, which, you know, when you subtract 12 from it, puts you at 2:21 in the afternoon. But apparently they claim that it was not correct, that the time on the timestamp was not correct. And like everything else in this case, everything's just a little off. You know, the video's a little grainy. You can't quite see the bridge guy's face. You can't quite see exactly what kind of car this is, and you don't know the precise time because apparently there's a problem with that as well. But they argued and successfully argued about that video to incriminate Richard Allen, which brings us to the next question in our investigation. And it's all about the video right there.
I really think my battery's dying in my mouse. Shouldn't the car be seen there since the man said he was there? You would expect it to be there. So the car being there doesn't prove anything other than the man said he was there and the car's there. I'm assuming at the time the man said he was there. The car alone, it's like that grainy footage over in Koberger's case. That don't mean shit. Really, it don't in the big scheme of things. Let's just be honest. Neither does this. You know? Well, yeah, he said he wasn't sure though, Indy, if he drove. He thinks he did drive the black car that day. Um, and he told Doolin that day everything, and that's on Doolin for not filing his shit correctly, or for 5 years not remembering a damn thing. I don't care for Mr. Doolin. Play. It's got to be my battery. I got to go find batteries.
Is this Richard Allen's car? Is that the Ford Focus, the black Ford Focus? And is that him arriving at the trails just in time to abduct and murder these two innocent girls? Still with us, Barbara McDonald and Bob Mata. I think we have a split screen because I don't even know what a Ford Focus looks like a 2016, So we have a split screen here. On the right, we found the car that is described as his, and then on the left is the surveillance video. And I guess there is definitely a similarity. It's not inconsistent with it. Barbara, how else are they establishing that it's his car, and what's the significance of the timing of all that?
Well, if you recall, his car was supposedly backed in at the old CPS building, which was still standing back in 2017, had been torn down.
Let's see. Was it Indy? Indy, did you listen to the interview that he just did that was just released with police officers? Because he was talking about driving down 300 and the different ways he would go at different times, and the way he found out by accident one time. But he did say he went that way that morning, and he talked about passing the Mears entrance on the way to where he parked. So I'm going by what Rick Allen said.
Down after that, and is now just an empty field. But some of the witnesses had said they saw a black car backed in like it was hiding its license plate, was how they characterized it. And so they found this video on this Hoosier Harvest Store camera. They say it's 54 minutes off, so it's actually at 1:27. And this is Richard Allen arriving from the west, headed east to that lot on 300 North. But in Richard Allen's interrogations, he indicated he had parked somewhere else.
Oh, sorry. I don't know why it's delayed like that. The somewhere else wasn't somewhere else entirely. It was next door to where the CPS building would have been. But it doesn't surprise me we see his car going past here at a 137, headed toward the parking lot where he said he was, going the direction he claimed he went. Again, I'm looking for a man walking down the road that I haven't seen yet. That's what I'm more interested in, Sarah Carball.
And would not have taken this route. Steve Mullen, who at the time of the trial was the prosecutor's investigator, he is once again the Delphi City Police Chief, he testified that he went to the CVS when Richard Allen was working and saw Richard Allen's car backed into a parking spot at the CVS where he was working, took a picture of it, and Steve testified that the hubcaps on Richard Allen's car match the car in that little bit of grainy video there. But
again,
it's hard to say. It's not a clear picture, and like you said, Vinny, none of these images really give us a definitive.
So we got a guy taking a photograph of a car, comparing it to a screenshot, going, there's a match. Can we get that guy in Idaho? I think Koberger's team might need him. Imel, FBI agent, you're out. We need the guy in from Delphi. He's the car expert. Wait, they didn't have one, did they?
Look that we can all agree on.
Welcome in, everybody.
It's like everything else in this case. Hey, Bob, what are your thoughts about this video, the significance of it, and demonstrating that it is, in fact, his car?
Well, we never saw the video, like everything on this case, everything else in the case. We didn't see the full video. They showed us. I don't even know if they got the full video. What we saw were these stills, these very stills that we're looking at. I don't know if when they went to the Hoosier Harvest Store that they actually got the entire video. I mean, to
Wow.
me, you know, look, I'm a defense attorney. You can't make that thing out. Like you said, at best, the most you can say, it's not inconsistent with the Ford Focus. I mean, can anybody actually sit there and say that it is Richard Allen's car? I don't think so. One of the bigger things that they kind of focused on were the wheels. If you can see in this picture that you have up there, Vinny, you can see daylight in between kind of the spokes of the wheels. That was a big thing for the state. That was one of the things they said, look, that's one of the ways that we could make out it's Richard Allen's car, because you can kind of see the light through the tires themselves. But in terms of being able to really identify it from that distance with it being that grainy, I mean, you just can't do it. I mean, we're talking about somebody's life, and that being one of the key pieces of evidence. Then when you contrast that with Richard Allen said during his interviews, he didn't drive down 300 North. Never did. Well, that wasn't his route.
Okay.
When he would go to the trails, he always came in through town. Now, when I was down in town, Barbara and I were both in town. You know, we were both out to the trails. You know, you could leave downtown Delphi, the little town.
See, he does say he normally would go the other way, but in the interview, I got to go back and review too now, because he says he went down 300 and he remembers passing the Mears Farm. He didn't call it the Mears entrance. He called it that old farmhouse entrance, right? So this particular day, he described he did go that way. Now, I may be remembering that completely wrong, but I will too also go back and review now.
Town square where the courthouse was, and you could drive maybe 4 blocks, and there was a road that used to be an access road that you could drive up to the other side of the Freedom Bridge and park. Now, I went out there with Kathy Allen, and I asked Kathy, I said, where did you guys always park when you came out to the trails? And she walked me right down to where they would always park, and it used to be at the end of that access road that now has large boulders that you can't drive up.
That is what,
straight from town, straight up there.
See, that's true. Rick describes that in the interview he's doing with police. He describes that exact location that Bob just described. And they seem to be confused about it, right? But then he does say this particular day, though, he did go down 300.
So, but it was not what they're determining, the old CPS building. It's not that area. It's a different area completely. So, you know, it's like everything with this case, to me, it remains a mystery. Now we've got a convicted guy who's in prison for 130 years, and we're all still talking about this case because nobody trusts his conviction.
Let me ask you, Barbara, like, if you have the video of the car arriving, there should be video of it leaving. Why? Is there an explanation as to why that video doesn't exist?
No, the other thing that should be on that same video, Vinny, is the muddy and bloody suspect walking back to his car. We had a witness, Sarah Carbaugh, testified. She saw him walking on 300 North just before 4 p.m. and he was covered in mud and blood and looked like he had just slaughtered a pig, she said at one point. And that's not captured on this video either.
All right, big thank you tonight.
Well,
Barbara McDonald doing great work as always, and Bob Mata, incredible insight. Thank you both so much. Now, the evidence being released is just some of the evidence in this case.
uh-oh, sorry.
All this evidence is part of public records from a public trial. But like so many aspects of this case, authorities in Indiana are not very transparent.
Yeah, they did. You're right.
Public records requests and procedures are much more difficult in Indiana and are not fulfilled completely, which from my perspective is really consistent with the entire manner in which this case was conducted, which has led, unfortunately, to further mistrust of this system and raised more questions. I'm Vinny Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.
Can you guys hear me? I don't know what happened. I closed out that screen and it took my whole thing down. Like I didn't know what was going on. Yeah, please hit the like button. If you guys don't mind, get this out there. It took me a minute to find that actual whole court TV piece this morning. Two people I saw talked about it being out there, but nobody knew where to go find it and all the things. I found the whole entire thing. I just didn't feel like we had time to cover the whole thing, but I wanted to get to the gist of it, which was to show that video of the Hoosier Harvest Store, because it was, and like Bob said, they didn't even play the whole thing. And where is the entire footage, right? We need the whole thing. I'm not disputing that that's Rick's car. I don't even care. I care, of course. I expect to see the car there if he claims he was there and if he claimed he went that direction. I absolutely expect to see it. I also expect to see a man walking down the road the way Sarah Carball described, and she claims it was around the 4 p.m. By that time, Rick Allen was allegedly gone. The murders had already happened and over and done with by 3:30. What does she say? Impressing that a police force this stupid pulls of to put an innocent man behind bars. Did Mullen jump into the machine? Y'all don't. These police over there in Indiana. I don't understand. If they want us to get there and to honestly have faith in their system and in the judicial system and have faith they got the right guy, they should have put it all out there and done it correctly to begin with and never should have danced in the dark. When they began to do that, throwing the man straight to prison, changing the judge, peace out, it's scary here, I can't do this. New judge comes in, I'm just going to deny everything. I won't even read your Frank's motion. It's long and I'm tired. But there's no excuse for all that. Any judge who doesn't read a motion, why are you on the bench at this point? Isn't that your job, is to read it and then make a decision, not go, oh my God, that's... Now, the judge in Idaho tells Ann, hey, your Frank's motion's a little bit too long and full of a bunch of nonsense because I read it. You want to condense that down, baby, and bring it back. And she did. Gull didn't even do that. She's just like, I'm not having it. Right, Pokemon? You are absolutely right about that. Yeah, Butterfly, I know that there's going to be more discovery coming down, and I'm saving all the, I mean, I've got it all together. I still will be, hopefully maybe Sunday we'll be able to put together a more cohesive show with the new discovery that's coming out as it comes out. Now, she didn't call no 911 when she saw a muddy and bloody man, right? Who looked like he had just, how did Barbara describe it? He had just took care of a pig, right? I live in the woods. I've seen what men do when they have just got a deer, and pigs for that matter. But if you saw somebody, if you're near a trailhead, and all of a sudden some dude appears up out of the woods covered in muddy and bloody, are you not calling somebody? Right? Your daddy, your uncle, your brother, the cops? I see something odd. Y'all might need to check it out. You know what? They heard all about that. I don't know if they actually saw it or not. I'd have to go back and review, because I had to review it not like everybody else. But we heard Jerry Holman's very descriptive narrative on the stand about that call, or that interview rather. And there were things he made a huge, huge deal about that once you see the actual video, you see they weren't a big deal at all, right? I can't trust that dude. I don't think any of us can trust that guy as far as we can damn well throw him. That's his fault that he has caused that, not ours. In between the break between this and Lori, I got to go see if I think I have batteries around this house somewhere. I don't know if my battery's going dead in my mouse or if I'm just having user error. It's been doing it the last couple days and I've been lazy about it. Let me see something. right, guys, I was looking for, let's see. I'm sorry. I was getting too many things in my head at one time. Indy says, by excluding third party, she also became the finder. Oh, yeah, the finder of the fact instead of the jury. This is why the federal rules of evidence are in conflict. And it's, look, we're hearing third party culprits in this case. We're hearing about it in Karen Reed. We're hearing about it in Idaho. Each state has their own different laws and their nexus or whatever you want to call it. But her making that determination instead of letting the jury be the fact finders, right? Can she, without a doubt, say the cops did their due diligence and really ruled out those third party suspects? I mean, did she absolutely all on her own make that determination? So she's like, nope, you can't bring them in. They were cleared. How cleared were they, ma'am? Damn, Indy, you so smart. I only got like 3. I don't even use my TV hardly. Later, I'll forget that I did that, and I'll be like, why doesn't this TV remote work? And the TV is my computer monitor, so I rarely watch TV. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go for a few minutes because we are going to be coming back here soon with the Lori Daybell. I can't even speak this morning about her. Lori Daybell will be on day 6 of her trial. Lots going on there today. The state doesn't really have many more witnesses left to go through, right? They were talking about being done by Thursday with their case in chief. So we'll see how it goes. We do have a witness list to look at for Lori coming up. We'll get to that when we get back on here in a few minutes. But I am scheduled up. What time do I have? I think they're going live at noon today. And remember, we're on a half-hour delay there. So I'll see you guys back here in about less than 15 minutes, and we'll get started on our Lori coverage, okay? Thanks for joining me this morning and taking a look at this newly discovered stuff that come down in the Delphi case. We'll be looking at it again over the weekend. I'm sure you'll see it other places. You guys, did Bob do an actual live on it? Did I miss it? Because I'll have to go check that out. I've been tired at night and not doing a lot at night because I've been on the internet all day. So yes, Rachel, I'm going to get me some fresh coffee right now. All right, guys, thanks for coming in, and I'll see you again in just a few minutes.
Thank you all for watching this here video. Please like and subscribe.